So hello, everybody. Good afternoon, morning, evening, whatever time zone you are in. Welcome to San Francisco Bay Area Pug. Today, we're very excited to host Andreas Scherbaum talking about what I learned interviewing the PostgreSQL community. Just a few things before we get started. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube. If your camera is on and you ask a question, your camera will be captured. If your mic is on and you ask a question, your sound will be captured. If you do not ask a question, you will not be recorded in any way. You are invisible in the background. It's only, again, if you ask a question, you'll be captured. If you want to ask a question and don't want to be in the recording, please use the chat function to contact the organizers. Tell us your question, we'll convey it to ads. The Q&A will be at the end. And again, if you don't ask a question, you're not being recorded. If you're using the most recent version of the app, you can use the raise hand function to let us know you have a question and join the queue that way. But again, if you don't want to be recorded, send us your question in chat. Let's see. If you have any technical issues, please message the organizers. We'll do our best to help you. If you get disconnected, you will be able to come back in. Let's see. Just a few other things. The San Francisco Bay Area PostgreSQL user group is associated with the United States PostgreSQL Association, and we appreciate their support. As a disclaimer, I'm the president of PGUS, but those are two separate things. Our sponsors, in addition to PGUS, PGX Inc., PostgreSQL experts, we provide the staff to arrange and conduct these events, and also pay for the video. Again, disclaimer, I work at PGX. So now that we've gotten all of the business and housekeeping out of the way, I'm going to turn it over to Ads. Ads, the floor is yours.
I would like to move forward, but apparently my LibreOffice just question doesn't let me do anything.
Well, take two.
No, wait a moment. I cannot even kill LibreOffice. It blocks both my screens. Okay. Give me 30 seconds. So what happens is LibreOffice just crashed and blocks both my screens, and I cannot kill it. I'm sorry. I get another computer.
Technology is great when it cooperates.
Yes.
And when it doesn't, well, we make our plans and then the computers do what the computers want to do.
So, can you make the new guy presenter? That's another computer.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me see if that works.
Now you are, the second you is now presenter.
Oh, window. Okay, that works. Welcome.
We see a slide. Okay, we see a slide.
Take two. So sorry about this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
I have an interview series running, which is called Postgres Person of the Week. It goes on since beginning of 2020, but it has nothing to do with COVID, which started around the same time. So weekly, I am publishing weekly interviews with people from the Postgres community. And I aim to not only pick people who are well known, like all the committers we know, and people who always speak at a conference. I also aim to pick people who are not well known, who do other work in the background, these kind of people, just to give them a spotlight in the community. So the website for this is called postgresql.live, and you can go there and see all the interviews. Yeah, as Stacy said, my name is Andreas. I work with Postgres since around 97, 98. This is kind of, I'm one of the founding members of PostgreSQL Europe, which we started in 2007 in Prato during the first Postgres conference, Italy, actually. I am also board of directors of Postgres Europe. And if you've ever been to like FOSDEM PG Day, Paris, PG Conference Nordic, PGConf Germany, or our main conference, which is PostgresConf Europe, we are running these conferences, all of them. For about 10 years, I worked for EMC in different positions, and since mid of 2020, I'm working for a company called Just in Berlin. We have about 1,000 Postgres databases running around, mostly on bare metal. So if you're looking for a challenging job, please contact me. You will find these slides for this on my website. So if you search my name, you most likely end up on my blog. And on the right side there's a point called Writings and Talks, where I upload all of my slides. You can also find me on different social media platforms like Mastodon or LinkedIn, Twitter, and of course my blog. And there's even more social media for all of us. So ever since the hiccup with Twitter started, people migrate to Mastodon, and it's kind of hard to find people there. So I started a special site on the Postgres Person of the Week website. It's called /social, and it links all of the social media profiles for community members. So you can go there and find, okay, this person is on this platform, and then you can verify, okay, that's really this person. By the way, if you want to be added to this site, send me your links and I can add you there. Okay, we also have something which is called the Postgres event calendar, which is maintained by several members of the community. And for every community event, we add like the event itself, and there's also a calendar entry for the end of call for papers, and all the details for the events we have there. Even this meetup is in there. So if you later download the slides for my talk, you can copy paste the link and add it to your calendar. And then you have all the Postgres community events directly in your calendar, and you never miss a call for papers again. That's the current list of events we have in there, so all of them you find in the calendar. Okay, but going back to these interviews, this presentation splits roughly in 3 parts. I'll tell you a little bit what this project is about, and give you a quick overview about how it's run. And then the most part is about what I learned from the community and about the community. Anyone knows what this is? You have to say something. I can't see it, sorry. This is called the Supreme Court of Cassatian. This is apparently the highest court in Italy. It's in Rome. And let's see, right next bridge. It's called Castel Sant'Angelo, also in Rome. What does it have to do with this interview series? Well, December 2019 to 2020, we've been in Rome over New Year's Eve. We met Magnus and Devrim there. And this idea started there. So we were sitting in a hot dog cafe, Devrim's favorite spot, and talking about what we can do better for the community. And I came up with this idea that I could run an interview, which I've seen for another open source project. And then we were discussing names and domains and so on. And by the time I came back, I had a pretty good idea how to do this. And well, that's how this entire project started. Then I had to find a couple of people to interview, asked a couple of friends, and then off it took. We also had fun in Rome, so. This platform is, or the website is hosted on a static blocking engine, which is called Hugo. So basically what it does, you write your content in Markdown and you compile your website. Hugo compiles the Markdown into HTML pages. And once this is done, then you get the website and you can browse the website put it on a web server and everyone can see it. Couple extra things, couple features I added to the Hugo template I have, but mostly it's plain text Hugo. I'm using a private GitHub repository for this, and every time I commit something there, it's auto-checked out on the web server. So it makes it quite convenient to work for me. In terms of interviews itself, everyone I'm interviewing, a couple people here maybe already be interviewed. You get a Google Docs link with questions, which is more or less a template which you can use. You don't have to answer all the questions. You can add new ones, change the ones you have. It's up to you. Experience shows that most people just go with the default set of questions and answer this or subset. Then there's at least one round of reviews, like we go back and forth and I see if a text which is written makes sense or if there are any logical mistakes in it. And then you finally also get a preview. And once you say, okay, it all looks good, then your interview is scheduled in. I aim to post every Monday, so about 3 o'clock or a little bit 3 o'clock European time or a little bit later. I publish an interview. They are published on Planet, of course, and on a couple of social media platforms. And for looking forward, I aim to have like 4 to 6 interviews ready, so I can always have someone in a pipeline. One of the things I've seen happening is that once I post this on LinkedIn, I always get a couple of requests, people adding me. As of this year, it's like 146 open invitations from people I don't know, I never met, I never interacted with. So I don't know you, sorry. But if you want me to interview someone, please send me an email. Over the time, I compiled a very huge spreadsheet with all the data I have. Actually, it's a couple of different sheets. They interact with each other. So I have an overall status for all the interviews I have and then additional data for every candidate I'm interviewing, and then overall statistics for this presentation here, and then extra sheets for all the recommendations and conference and also the extensions and everything. And the most interesting sheet I have is all the quotes. So when we move forward here in this talk, we will see quotes which I took from your interviews, which match what we see on these slides. Okay. Any questions so far? If not, you can also ask at the end.
None yet.
And let's dive in. Oh, the biggest question, what are people using? PostgreSQL, Postgres, or Postgre? Well, there's no interview published where anyone says Postgre. Let's be serious here. But the majority of people say PostgreSQL or use PostgreSQL and Postgres as an alias. So it's quite evenly split. It's never a majority for saying Postgres, but sometimes it's close to 50%, sometimes it's close to 40%, depending on how many more interviews I add. But only a very small number of people say, let's also rename the project name to Postgres. So I say it says the majority of people is happy with using PostgreSQL and Postgres as an alias, and they just interchange both names. That's fine. Almost no one really wants to rename the project because it's a lot of work for everyone. Currently, as of last week, I have 437 people in my recommendation list. So there's quite a number of interviews I still have to do, not running out of work here. I started close to 250 interviews and I completed 150. So 7 or 6 interviews are in the pipeline right now. I published one day before yesterday on Monday. There are also close to 100 interviews open. So these are interviews where people started doing the interview and never finished for a variety of reasons. So if I asked you to be interviewed and you started an interview, please find a time and work with me and let's get this closed. Thank you. There are also 8 people who said, well, yes, thanks for asking, but I rather don't be in a spotlight and don't want to be interviewed, which is okay as well. As part of the interview, I will ask people to recommend me other people from the community I should interview. Sometimes I get the same names again. Sometimes I get new names, which is good for me. So far, I got recommended 267 new names. So these are mostly people not well known otherwise in the community, just doing some work, maybe on an extension or just working with one conference or just doing meetups somewhere. It's nice to get them and want an interview with them. So if you want someone to be interviewed, send me an email to interview@postgresql.live or just ping me on one of the social media platforms. So 174 names only got recommended once, which means it's a new name for me. Then 16 names got recommended 3 times. 56 names got recommended 2 times. So we see I get more recommendations in, but I'm really happy about the 174. And there's one name which got recommended 12 times. Any idea who it is?
Somebody on core team?
I think so, yeah. Well, I got asked 12 times by 12 different people to interview Tom Lane. But Tom said, nope, thank you. He politically declined the interview, so keep asking, maybe. So the text I have in the question set is, please recommend me 3 names. And as you can see, most people really recommend me 3 other names. But some people really go the extra mile and find extra names. And one person gave me 9 different names to interview. So very nice. Thank you. What are the top 3 countries where we have people in the community coming from? Make a guess.
United States.
United States.
UK.
UK.
No idea about the third.
United States is correct. UK is way off the chart. So leading currently is France and Russia in terms of interview, and India. I have a couple interviews from Russia, but they are on hold ever since this posting in Ukraine started. And we agreed not to publish any interviews from there with anyone who was in the pipeline. So let's hope this cleans up at some point in the future and we can get to being a community. I have a total of 33 countries in my interviews. So we have community members from 33 different countries, which is quite a lot. What's the first used PostgreSQL version for people? So we can see that over time, we always get a good number of people joining the community, maybe also leaving, but we keep good track of attracting new people coming into this community. Some versions better than others, and of course the recent versions. Whenever someone joins there, it's not yet in an interview, so we will see about this. I recommend to you to go and read the interview with Ellen Mustaine. She has some interesting things to talk about the very early days of Postgres and Postgres 95. And I hope Michael Goldberg by now did an upgrade. Okay, as part of the interview, you can have tags on the interview. By default, every interview has PostgreSQL as a tag, so of course, but then the couple other talks, you can add as many as you want. And it's quite interesting to see what people choose as tags. I'm quite happy about this open source in the end, but also about things like Postgres Woman and conferences there. Quite a number of both countries and enterprise names come up here, but you see it's very evenly distributed. It's quite nice. Up until like end of last year, community was the #1 tag we had, or I had, but now it's overrun, it's open source. So 312 tags I have, I only used one, so maybe I should encourage people to use more tags and look at other tags. Okay, in terms of diversity, I have only 21 women in my interviews. So if you have a woman in the community who you think I should interview, please reach out to me and give me a name and an email address, and I can go and ask if this person wants to be interviewed. I mean, it's better than some other communities we know in open source world, but I think we can still do better here. The ship you see, it's the blue ribbon. It belongs to Magnus. It's in Sweden, I think, when it's on land. So how many community members like sailing? Make a guess.
7.
7. Close. It's 5.
Okay, it's I overestimated, but not bad.
It's close. We have quite a different variety of activities people like to do when they're not working on our favorite database. Cycling has always been on the top, and then hiking and walking out. This number actually raised quite a bit during the pandemic, so people try to get out and do some more sports and just get to move. We have a quite active running community, and what's new is skiing, actually. I just added this for this meetup here. So I looked through the interviews again and I found that 6 people mentioned that they like to do skiing, which is always nice to do. And once you're stuck at home, what are you going to do? Well, most people like to do reading or watching movies. These numbers are always in the same level. And we have a quite active chess community. So Dimitri said once, if you find someone at a conference sitting somewhere in a room or in a corner and playing chess, then of course what he did in Berlin was playing chess with other people in the speaker room. So when you walked by the speaker room, you could see a couple of people playing chess there. I like this. It's a really good activity. What does everyone like to drink? Of course, beer and coffee. Tea is really only one person, and I looked it up. It's a person from UK, of course. But beer and coffee, sometimes it's ±1, but it's always the same. So if you want to interact with this community, the Postgres community, where do you go? Up until last year, Twitter and LinkedIn were always the same number. This dropped considerably for Twitter. We all know why. Quite a number of people in the community deactivated their account or just cleaned out the account and said, okay, I'm no longer using it. Here's my other social media accounts I have. So this number dropped, and I expect it to drop it even more in the future. So currently, if you want to interact with the community, go to LinkedIn or go to Mastodon. And then again, I have the social link at the beginning of this presentation. So if you want to find people on social media platforms, go to the social link on PostgreSQL.live and see where you can find other community members. What is the most loved conference? Any choice?
I would guess either Ottawa or EU.
It's my guess also.
By far, it's EU. But yes, Ottawa is running second.
Wow.
I mean, Ottawa, PGCon is a developer conference, so only Wally community member goes there. But when I ask to which conference people like to go, it's always PGCon, EU WeNet, and then PGCon, and then FOSDEM. And Postgres Open actually includes also New York. So it's run by PGUS, roughly the same number as people going to FOSDEM. And you can see all the other conferences we have there. I have a total of 33 conferences mentioned across all the interviews. And up to 2019, we had a really, really hard time to find time slots for a conference which do not overlap with other conferences. And what we are seeing this year, that it's happening again. You almost have a conference every month somewhere. If you want to go to a conference, there's no lack of choices. And what's your favorite extension?
Do you have a guess?
PG stat statements. Yep.
Anyone likes PG stat statements, and quite a few people say PG stat statements should actually be in core and should be preloaded in every database. So I hear the statement quite a lot. But there are quite a few other extensions we have which people use, people like. Citus made it into this list quite a few times, so that's impressive. PostgreSQL, of course, people love and like it. Go and check out what other people have to say about the extensions. We have a total of 51 extensions mentioned across all the interviews. It shows how extensive Postgres can be if we have 51 extensions which you can load one way or another. How many people actually work for Postgres or for Postgres companies? I have about 150 interviews now, and more than 2/3 of the people have a career in and around Postgres. Could you have imagined 10, 15 years ago to make a living from open source? Maybe not, maybe. But these days, the majority of people I have in my interviews live from working for Postgres or working with Postgres. This is impressive. One of the questions I have is, does Postgres have a future? Well, 114 people, again, more than 2/3 say it has a future, one way or another. And the others did not answer the question. So there's no one saying there's no future for Postgres. Looks like we are safe for the near future. Is Postgres good for business? There's a slightly higher number of people saying it's good for business, but not so good for private use cases. I haven't really figured out why people say, okay, it's good for if you can do it or if you can use it for business, but maybe not for private use cases. But well, here we are. Maybe it's worth investigating what we could do better for private users. I know that Heroku, as example, stopped doing the free offerings, which quite a few people used for their private projects. So maybe getting some hosting, cheap or free, for a small database is a good start to make people use our loved Bit database. Very controversial topic. How do you start developing for Postgres? So of course, anyone says we can use it for business and private projects, but once you start contributing to it, it really differentiates. So some people say, okay, go and use the commit.first website and review patches and get a feeling how you can develop for Postgres. Other people say, okay, go and read the mailing list, especially the hacker mailing lists. Maybe not taking into account that you can have a couple hundred emails per day on hackers. There's only a small number of people who say, okay, start writing patches. You get it in one way or another. And we all know it's quite frustrating to get a patch into Postgres. It takes a very long time. And quite recently, I digged in again and found that also a number of people say wiki. So we have some useful information on the wiki for new developers, like, okay, how to format your patch, how to submit your patch, what to include if you write the patch. Go and check out the wiki for new developers if you want to write a patch. Does Postgres need 64-bit transactions? That goes along with the problem we have in Postgres, that we have this transaction ID overrun, which is 32-bit. And if you have a really busy database, it can only be a couple of weeks. Otherwise, the database will shut down. So we all know about this, but do we really need this? We have 7 people saying, yes, we should absolutely work on this and getting 64 bits in to avoid this misery we have there. Do we need a Postgres multi-master? What is your choice? What is your opinion? Should we have multi-master in Postgres implemented? Not some extra tool, but have it in core?
Not being a technologist, I don't have a sound basis for my opinion, but it sounds cool, so why not?
It's the best answer I ever got on this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So we have a couple of people saying, yes, we should absolutely have multi-master in core. So we can beat all the other databases which aim to have multi-master as well. There have been quite a few projects like Postgres XC and XL and a couple others. None of them really took off. It's a really complicated topic to do and to get it right. Does Postgres have a high or low entry barrier? And the question to this, or the answer to this, is twofold. So if we look at the entry barrier for new users, almost everyone is saying, yes, the entry barrier for a user is really low. If you look at any Linux or Unix distribution, you have Postgres current versions included. You just do like an apt-get or yum install and you have a Postgres up and running. It's very easy to start developing your own application against Postgres. Even for Windows, you have packages you can download and install, and it all works. You have plenty of hosting options for new users. All of this is there. So there's not a big barrier if you want to start using Postgres. However, if you want to start developing Postgres, it's really hard. As we've seen a couple of slides before, it takes weeks or months and a lot of effort to get even a single small patch in, functionally patch in. So you need to spend a lot of time. For other open source projects, you just go to like GitLab or GitHub, you submit a pull request, maybe you answer a couple of questions, do a couple of changes, and then you're done, it gets merged. And in Postgres, it takes weeks and hundreds of emails on hackers. So maybe the Postgres project can do better here and onboard new developers in a more easy way. On the other hand, Postgres is known for very good code quality. So there's a reason why this process takes so long. There's plenty of more data where this is coming from. So as I said, I have about 150 interviews, and then occasionally I go in when I spot a pattern, like with skiing or with a wiki, and try to find out what people think about it. Over time, I get more and more data for this. So for every time I present this talk, I aim to have a couple new data points here. So next time you see this talk, I have something new for you. Good. Any questions?
That was fun, Ads. Thank you.
Thank you.
So actually, I do have a question, and I'm going to use my prerogative as host to ask the first question, which is, what was the most surprising result for you?
Oh. This one.
What were you, what were you expecting?
Yeah, this question I I started from the beginning. I had this question in the interviews from the beginning. And then over time, I found out this question is not as good as it thought it should be and has to be. So at some point, I have to go and split it up into, does Postgres have a high entry barrier for users and for developers? Because right now, this question covers both. And some people answering the interview question only cover one part, like users, or only cover developers. And on the answer range, I get, this very easy part for users and this very complicated part for developers. So the answers to this question don't really help anyone because the answers are so broad.
Yeah, because remember when I saw it, because again, since I don't use it as a technologist, I just talked about getting involved with the community. So that might be a different way to spin the question or a different question to add.
Yeah, I need to change this question. But then I also need to go back and ask anyone, maybe you want to answer this question as well. I have to think about it. Having 150 interviews and then going back and changing something, it's complicated.
That sounds like it would be a lot of fiddly messing about on the back end to add stuff. Because it's, I mean, for me, getting involved with the community was really easy. I just got asked to help with registration at PGCon the first year I went. And then, here I am. So sure, how hard could it be? Just hand out some name badges to people. It'll be fine. And, then I can go off and do things. So, and I know reading some of the other interviews, people also talk about the community involvement. So just wondering if there was anything you gathered from the interviews about that in particular.
What I gather is that I still get people who are relatively well known. I rarely have people in my interviews who only show up to conferences. Like the volunteers we have there, we always have people who are also involved in other parts of the community, like organizing a conference or doing meetups or this kind of stuff. So it's still quite hard to reach out to people who only do small tasks in the community and give them an opinion or a chance to do more, get more involved.
Do you have any ideas about that?
What we do, at least for our conference in Europe, is we ask more people, do you want to be involved in the conference organization side of things? And then get them started there. Not everyone says yes, and some people are only there for 1 year and then drop off again. I don't know. Not a good idea, but I also don't have a good idea how to fix it.
Because for some people, it's this is great and I want to do it, and they change jobs and their new employer doesn't do conference travel, and it's like, oh, well, I'd love to, but I can't get there. And it's like, okay, well, can we do this? Can we do this? So yeah, cool. So I'm looking and I'm seeing if anybody has their hand up with a question. I'm checking chat. There's got to be a question. There are 143 very interesting people that we've been talking about. There's got to be a question somewhere. I guess maybe just overwhelm them all with information.
How many of you did actually read one or more of the interviews before?
I did.
I read most of them.
And where do you find them? What's your way how the interview reaches you? Are you just going to the website, or are you picking it up from Planet or from some social media platform?
I see them on Twitter usually when they're announced there.
Yeah, Planet Postgres posted on Twitter.
Yeah, I just have a task on my Wednesday to-dos to go look at go read the interview for the week, because it's a nice way to break up the day, get to know my colleagues, and particularly when it's somebody that I'm not familiar with or I don't know very well. And that's really nice because it's like, oh, here's this new interesting person that if they're at a conference I'm at, I want to go meet them. So
Yeah. Yeah, occasionally I just when I go to a conference now again after the pandemic, we have conference again, and just try to find people I interviewed and say hello, because quite a few people I did an interview with I haven't met before. So it's a nice way to break a barrier and just say hello.
Well, I also like that it's a great way to spotlight people who are making contributions to the project in some way that you might never hear about otherwise because they're just down, head down doing their thing, and they may not be the kind who go to conferences or who do a lot of presentations or even just a pug.
Yep.
And so it's like, oh, here's this person who's responsible for this very cool thing. So I really appreciate that. It's really given me a broader sense of the community. And you see the numbers of contributors, and if you've been to a conference, you know how many people it takes to make it happen. But then when you actually start seeing over and over again, wow, here are all these people who I'm completely unfamiliar with who are doing something very helpful for the project, it gives you a better idea of the scope of how many people it takes to make this happen.
Yep. Or living at the other side of the world and you never met before, and then if you would just randomly bump into each other at a conference, yeah, who are you? I don't know you. No, I know you.
Exactly. As when handing out badges at PGEU last year, it was like, oh, I read your interview with that, which is a nice thing. So let's see. Oh, there's some things in chat. People most see the interviews Telegram, Twitter, 3 on LinkedIn, and 1 Planet. So that's
nice.
Just give you an idea of where people are seeing things. It's a nice variety.
Nice outreach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nice to know that your post is getting seen somewhere. Because also on LinkedIn, I'll repost it just to spread the word.
Thank you.
It's I think this is just one of the neatest things to happen in the community in quite a while. Just the idea that here are all these people and creating this awareness and this connection. My bias is community because that's my background. But it's conferences, COC, and so just seeing that become stronger in the general awareness of other people in the community, I think is very good and very healthy. And I really appreciate that you're doing this. If nothing else, it's just neat. And the Postgres pets part, I really, really like.
He needs to do more pet interviews. Absolutely. So if you have a Postgres pet, go to Federico. He does interviews for your pets. It's really funny to read.
Yeah.
If you want to see them, if you go to the Postgres person of the interview website on the right side, there's a box with a link to the Postgres pet interviews.
And I think it's great that you have those linked there because it's because the people are interesting, but then they have pets, they have cats, they have dogs, they have chickens, and it's like, oh,
yeah.
So that's a nice little addition. The furry friends don't directly contribute to the project, but they contribute to their person's happiness, and that contributes to the project. So yeah.
Absolutely. Good. I can let you know that the Quest LibreOffice is still spinning on my other laptop, so it hasn't fixed yet.
That's not encouraging.
No. I mean, I still see a blue colored wheel on my back here. It's still spinning, so.
Woo, well, yay. Okay, so any other questions? I'm looking for raised hands. I'm checking chat. Okay, I don't see any other.
I have a question/comment. I've organized and participated in several very unofficial group runs and bike rides. when we were all at a conference. And I think that I didn't realize there were so many people that rode bikes in the Postgres community. And now I really want to organize like an official tour or something for whatever conference I'm at next. I think that would be really fun.
So what we did before Postgres Conference Europe for a couple of years, we had a running group which met in the morning, and we just went running. Like where was it, in Milan, we went one up the hill in the morning, then came back for the conference, and everyone got a shower, and then we've been refreshed. That was nice. We did it for a couple of other conferences as well, but there is no cycling group because obviously if you travel somewhere, you can't bring your bike.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. If we ever have a conference in Portland again, we have tons of bike rental places here, and we actually have bike shares. So if we ever have a conference in Portland again, we'll do that. That'll be great.
That would be an option to just rent bikes, but it's not racing bikes. It's more like city bikes, but you can still go around and offer a tour on bikes. Yes.
Yeah.
So for the Postgres
Gabrielle,
conference,
Go on.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Gabrielle, are you volunteering to organize a conference in Portland?
No, not yet. Let me talk to Mark.
Great.
I can't do that. Okay. I can't do that without Mark.
Yeah, but I help you organizing it. Ping me. What you can do, we have this wiki system in a conference system where you can just add other activities. I mean, the Postgres US system is using the same as PGEU. So you can have a wiki page and everyone can sign up for other activities. And then if you announce it there and maybe send an email upfront to participants, yeah, we have this and this activity. Maybe you get more people joining you.
Absolutely.
Oh, we have a comment.
So Portland.
Yes, please, to a conference in Portland. Yeah. And we have a comment. Thank you, ads, for running this great interview series. So hey, Gabrielle, I think you have a new item to add to OmniFocus.
All right.
In your copious spare time.
I got to start doing one in, one out.
Yeah, that works too. Great.
The community is missing a good conference on the West Coast.
Well, we do get together at scale. It's not like there's nothing.
Yeah, scale overlaps with another conference already this year, so I can't go. But scale is not a Postgres conference per se. Scale is part of the bigger, Postgres room there is part of the bigger scale event. So it's missing the Postgres flair.
The weather in Pasadena in March, though, let me tell you. Whew.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect for bike riding.
Perfect for running. They have a nice waterfall. I can get you there.
Yeah. And then you can finish up at scale and then go to Nordic PG Day and then to Paris. It's perfect.
Fabulous.
Yeah. See? Got a great solution here. Yeah. We have a plan. It's great. So
let's do it.
Well, so I don't see any other questions unless I'm missing somebody. Going once, going twice. Okay.
So, thank you everyone for coming.
Well, thank you.
Send me your recommendations.
Yeah. No, this is really interesting, and I just love the different how it changes each time slightly. It's like, oh, this is changing, this is changing. So so thank you very much. That was great. Definitely.
Thank you.
So just a few things before we wrap up. I'm terribly insulted. I'm talking and it says nobody is talking. And yet, okay. Anyway, so just a few things to wrap up here. What do we got here? We have some upcoming events. As we mentioned, their scale. Pasadena, February 9 to 12. Before that, let's see, the February SF Bay Area Pug will be Extreme PostgreSQL with Christoph Pettis. How you can use PostgreSQL in extreme situations that you wouldn't imagine. I guess maybe this is like the mountain biking version or something. Let's see, February 3 to 5, we have FOSDEM in Brussels. February 9 to 12 is Scale in Pasadena. March 21, Nordic PG Day, Stockholm, Sweden. March 22 and 23 is PG Day, Paris. April 20 is PG Day, Chicago, sponsored by PG US. I must say that part. And finally, PGCon Ottawa returns in person after too many years lost to COVID. Tutorials are May 30th, talks are May 31st and June 1st, and conference is Friday, June 2nd. Call for papers for most of these are still open. So put in your talks and then we'll see you there. The video of this.
I have a couple more.
Yeah, please.
There's Postgres Conference Germany and Swiss PG Day in June in the same week. We do the same pattern like Nordic and Paris this year. So we have one conference on Tuesday, one on Thursday. So you can submit to the same conference and go to two if you want. There's also PostgreSQL Europe in December in Prague. 12th of December, we start this one. And don't forget to add the Postgres events calendar to your calendar. So you have all of this in your calendar. Stacy, can you send me the Extreme event? Yeah,
it'll be live for RSVP this afternoon.
Yes, send it. Yeah, okay, because it's not in our event calendar yet. I want to add it there.
Thank you. No, it's we make the next month's live at the conclusion of this month's event, so people don't get confused about which event they're going to, because it's happened. So that link will go out this afternoon, and you're on the list, so you'll receive it, but I'll send it to you just in case. So let's see. Oh, of course. So let's see. When this video is up on YouTube, we will send the link by email. It will also be out on our social media. And let's see, one other thing. We always need speakers. We are always happy to have people from anywhere in the world. You don't have to be in the Bay Area. Since we're virtual, you can be at home and talk to us with your running slippers on, and we'll work out the time difference. But would love to have new speakers, would love to have former speakers come back and update us on their projects. Whatever you'd like to talk to us about, we'd like to hear about it. So again, thank you so much, Ads. Really appreciate your time. I know it's rather late in your part of the world. I would like to thank everyone for attending. Again, thanks to PGUS for sponsoring our PUG and for PGX for sponsoring our PUG for the video. And we'll see you all again in February. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Stacy, thanks, Ads.